402.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen of the House. Amendment H1402 would add to the appropriation going to the governor's office some requirements that hopefully improve transparency and the ability for taxpayers to understand how their dollars are being spent. This amendment adds explicit language to the appropriation that is going to that office and specifies that monies that are allotted for salaries be used only for salaries, not be used for bonuses. The second portion of the amendment requires the Office of the Governor to return any money that was originally allocated for salaries to be paid back to the state general fund, in effect coming back to taxpayers for a different use, if their salaries were paid for by outside sources such as federal funds or other state departments. This amendment also requires a report to be conducted and made to the General Assembly by the Governor's office in order to create both something that is easily documented, easily found by taxpayers, and also better understood by the legislature. The reason and need for this amendment is fairly straightforward and I think actually pretty well documented over the last couple of years. We know that each year in the admin and reg budget, dollars are appropriated to executive branch agencies and departments, and that we as the legislature have a strong say in how those dollars should be used. Unfortunately, we're starting to see a pattern that has developed within the governor's office that not only makes it harder to follow the dollars and know how they're being spent, but at certain moments has also potentially used taxpayer dollars twice, some from feds, some from the state, in order to pay for salaries within the governor's office. The pattern began, I think, noticeably in 2019 when at the Admin and Reg Budget Subcommittee hearing, the governor's office requested $200,000 to create new positions for analysts on health and tax policy. Weeks after those dollars were appropriated, the governor's office, rather than hire the positions that they had told legislators they were planning to hire, hired a public relations manager, among others. We provided the governor's office $200,000. There was no written justification after the fact why the governor's office deserved to increase their office's expenditures by 10% when most agencies were receiving a status quo and when they had in fact used the dollars for something other than advertised. In August 2020, we see in the Des Moines Register and other publications that Iowa's medical director received a 45% raise above what the state law allows. Again, in September 2020, just this last fall, nearly $450,000 in CARES Act funds were used to cover more than 60% of the compensation for 21 employees in the governor's office between the dates of March 14th and June 30. So even though this legislature appropriated $2.3 million to cover such expenses for those salaries, the governor sought fit to add and supplement, according to their own Department of Management. Department of Management confirmed these dollars supplemented the full salaries and benefits of the governor's staff to increase 21 employees' salaries by more than 60%. Former Representative Karen Derry, who previously was the ranking member of this budget, in response to that movement said, quote, "The state legislature allocated $2.3 million to cover such expenses for the governor's office in fiscal year 20. If CARES Act dollars were used to cover staff salaries, then where did all the allocated money go? Iowa taxpayers deserve to know how their money is being spent and why the governor's administration has not been transparent about this use of CARES Act dollars. My amendment simply puts forward that when taxpayers are on the hook and if we are paying for the governor's salaries, we also deserve to know if they are getting the salaries twice, if they're being supplemented by federal dollars, or if they're being billed by other state agencies in order to increase their salaries beyond what is listed on the price tag and available to the public otherwise." Those are my opening comments, and I welcome any questions.
Is there discussion? Chair, I recognize the gentleman from Polk, Representative Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Currently, our experience with the governor's office has been that she stayed inside their budget and has not used additional funding from our committee for any of these bonuses, and therefore I would urge a no vote.